He has probably gone through my football career with me, as many of you may know, but making the headlines for the wrong reasons at the moment are referees, which I'm bloody happy about as it happens. Tonight we've got Philip Don, ex-referee, and now he's an observer for the Referees Association. We've also got a legend in his own right from Aston Villa, Gary Shaw, and England. We've got Dave Bennett from... From where are you from? We don't know this. We found him somewhere walking about Jamaica trying to look for his passport. Again. But Benno has played in the cup final. He's also played most of his career up at Coventry. And we've got Robbie Savage, one of the new sparks of the Crew Academy, coming through the ranks now, and he's now playing at Leicester. We're just going to open up, Philip, with you about obviously the controversy with the Petty sending off. Yeah. You know, and obviously we know, all of us here know that you can't put your hands on referees. But he made a statement in one of the papers saying that he done that so that 30,000 referees on a Sunday morning would be protected. Yeah. When did he make that decision? Did he make that decision when he got up in the morning or before he pulled his red card out? Or?
I would hope he made it as he produced his red card, because whenever I refereed, a penalty, a yellow card and a red card are instinctive. If I had to think about it, I would never do it. And I think what he's done, he's, if you like, gone out there, he's sent the player off, and then he's thought about it afterwards and he said, right, I've now set an example for the 30,000 referees in the country.
And I mean, when you look at some of the manhandling of referees, you know, most of them that they show recent times have been yellow cards.
Yeah. But I don't think there's been one where two hands have been placed on a referee. There's the odd where there's the mass intimidation, where maybe a dozen players surround the referee. But I don't think there's been one that I've seen recently where it's been a one-on-one and the player has actually put both hands out on the referee.
It never happened to you?
Not two hands. I've been involved in a mass intimidation where there's been the confrontation, and as you say, I've cautioned, because I don't think the player has gone out there to literally manhandle me.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd say intimidation. You've got all the protection. The referee's got all the protection in the world. I mean, Benno, when the boy put his hands on him, I mean, he weren't going to beat him up, was he?
No, not really. It's like he says, you have mass brawls, and some players do run in and they push this and they push that. So you got to take it. Is it intent, or he's just stopping him? What's he done? He's not really knocked him off balance or anything like that.
But that's what I'm saying. It is intent. I mean, Gary,
it looked to me as though the referee made a very rash decision. I thought, you know, he was intent on, you know, wanting to get involved in the game, possibly wanting to make himself known, and like I thought it was a very, very quick decision to make from the ref. You know, as if really Petit was just like holding him off a little bit in case the referee was just, obviously there might have been a collision, but it just seemed to me it was also very quick to me, Phil.
How can we like overcome this now then, Phil? I mean, will he wake up in the morning and say, well, he ain't exactly thumped me in the ribs?
Well, I think had he thumped him in the ribs, then that player is likely to have been banned for life.
Yeah, but I mean, I cannot see that any player would do that. I mean, how many games of football have we had in 10 years at the top level? Right. And no one has ever struck a referee. No.
There was that one in Australia, wasn't there? That fella running on the pitch. Not the ref out.
And
there might have been a cousin of this referee or something.
But I think the other point which Paul made in, I think it was the Daily Mail today, didn't he, about the 30,000. I think the problem with that is it does go on in Sunday football and it goes on in park football. And there are referees who have been off work for months and months and months and have taken players to court because they have been assaulted on the park. And I think Paul has sent this player off, as he did on Sunday, and I think he's now made that statement, well, we are setting the example. So if it happens to you on the park, don't be afraid of sending them off.
It's been doing that for years though, hasn't it? Park football, it's always been having brawls and referees.
Yeah, but they have the same laws as the Premier League.
Yeah, to do that, but there's more characters before. You had your Clyde Thomases and everybody else like that who laid the law down straight away, and sometimes if players got in their way, they pushed them out of the way.
Yeah.
So you know, there's rules for some, there's rules for others.
There are, but I think what's happening over the last few years with FIFA, they are now wanting to bring in the mandatory instructions, like the foul tackle from behind. The referee doesn't have an opinion now. He has to caution, and if he doesn't caution, then he will be marked down, criticised by the observer in the stand. Because what's happened in the past with the likes of Clive Thomas, Keith Hackett and other referees, they control the game, but they did it with their personality. They did it without necessarily applying the law. And FIFA said after Italy 90, enough's enough. We've got to tell the referees what they're going to do.
So do you think we're lacking personality referees then?
No, I think
I don't think they're allowed to have one. Really.
No.
I don't think.
Well,
because
Gary,
the way
what's
big-
it like? You must have known the characters. The referees were about. They were when I came in. They were going out.
Of course there was. I mean, you could have some camaraderie with them. You could have a bit of lip with them, give them a bit of stick back, and it was all, you know, all in humour, you know, all in jest. And I think nowadays that part of it's definitely gone because of the regulations laid down by FIFA, which doesn't really give you an opportunity to formulate relationships between player and
gone are the
referee.
days where the referee's opinion is diminishing, unfortunately, because they're now having to do things by mandate from FIFA, and if they don't do it and don't do it as FIFA or the Football Association want, then those referees will be punished.
What about that referee that refereed us against Atletico Madrid? He's been suspended since that game. We should have had 3 penalties. Everyone was. Did you see that on the TV?
I saw some of it.
Every one was a penalty, and he didn't give it. But over there, he gave a penalty, and after the game, he's been suspended.
Yeah,
But that doesn't help Leicester City Football Club, does it?
Basically, the reason being there will have been a UEFA observer at that game, as I do on the Premier, and he will have marked him such a low mark that UEFA have said, right, he will not get another UEFA game for the rest of this season. But I bet you he's still refereeing in the French Premier League at the moment.
Well, we're just asking, as footballers, we're not sure whether referees have got personalities, but Philip's here to tell us different.
I think they've all got personalities and they do communicate with you. I've been at games, in fact refereeing you, Vinnie, and I feel like by talking to you, I've kept you on the park on occasions. I'm sure there are many referees in the Premier League who do communicate with players, they do talk to players, and I've said to players, oh, sod off. I mean, I haven't sworn and said otherwise, but things do go on, but it's on the spare of the moment when things happen. I mean, you might take a shot on goal and you miss it, and I might make some comment as I'm passing you and things like
Then I
that.
should hit you then, shouldn't I?
How many shots do you have on goal?
I'll tell you what comes
Good question.
A real good point is that, I know footballers say it, we're being refereed by mainly people that have never played the game. How true is that?
Yeah, well, fair enough. But if I say that I've refereed since I started over 2,000 games, and I think I've built up experience over those 29 years I refereed. Yes, I played at school football, but then I chose to referee. And so from 18, I was refereeing in Middlesex. By 22 I was on the Southern League, refereeing Wimbledon at Cowley, and I came up that way. So yes, I haven't played it at a high level, but having refereed over 2,000 games, of which I would think, 500, probably 600 will have been at professional level, I've gained that experience, because you don't just automatically get promoted to the Football League. There are 9 rungs on that ladder to Football League.
Do you think that's right though, or wrong? I mean, we've got people like Gary here and Bennett played at the top level. Gary, can you see a shorter way where ex-pros could become refs?
Yeah, I'd like to think so, but then there's not too many look as though they're interested in doing it. To be honest, there's not enough of them coming through. I think it's looked down upon. I think if you've been a player, you then become an ex-player, you had to finish the game through injury or whatever. I think it's not really the done thing for ex-players to go back into sort of officialdom of refereeing.
There is within the FA and the RA a 6-year accelerated programme. So if you're an ex-professional, you can take a course, as the summer before last, a dozen ex-professionals did up at Lillishall, and if they wanted, within 6 years, if they progressed, they could be on the Football League line in 6 years. And none of those have decided to take it forward. The only one who there is at the moment is Steve Baines, the ex-Chesterfield Doncaster player. He's on the Football League now.
What about players now is to talk about characters in the game and everything like that. And I go back maybe 5 years or 10 years ago. We used to have every team had one who used to moan. And now you're in a regime of looking after the game. How would you go about that if someone kept saying, "Hey, referee, this, what,
Well,
you
they
always
do.
won there, and what this."
You ignore them.
Ignore them.
The whingers. I can tell you whingers in every team. And referees ignore those whingers.
I mean,
Just as you know
yeah.
the players who are the... You know which referee you can have a go at,
Yeah.
and which referee will give you some back, and others will not. They'll produce the card.
Goes
We're
back to
talking
the
about
old-
characters,
Yeah, that's
don't we?
right.
We're talking about personalities there now. That's what I'm saying.
Was it Gary?
I mean, yeah, you go back to the old adage of trying to get the referee on your side, and there's good communication with the referee and bad communication. You take the incident last night in the game you played in, David Unsworth. For me, it was only a matter of time before he was going to get booked, because you could see him rubbing up the referee the wrong way, you know, and it just a matter of time. And he was very fortunate, I think, to stay on the pitch at the end of the game, you know, so that you can have communication between players and referees, but it's the right, you know, it's how it's done. I'm sure it's how it's done.
But with that game, Sav, with the Leicester game, there's been quotes saying that the referee was a homer. You must have, you know, people say this and he was playing in the game. Now there was a lot of controversy about when he refereed the Chelsea game. Now he's at Leicester in front of the Leicester fans, playing against West Ham. Now, is he going? Did you feel that he was trying to put it right for Leicester or not?
To be fair, Vin, I thought he had a good game as a ref. There's been a few quotes a day that. Yeah, because we won 2-1. He was a great ref.
West Ham fan behind us.
No, but
Who do you support?
as Phil, I think Phil seen the game, and I think he done okay. If I ever discussed it with Phil, Phil said he did everything right. The decisions went for us mainly, but yeah, I think he done well.
Did any of the boys say, oh, he had a mare against us, he's got to be good to us?
Yeah, but do
Because
you
all
not-
this is said, isn't it?
But do you not think Mike Reid was also put under pressure last night by being given Leicester to referee at Leicester?
I don't think he should have. I don't think he should have been out.
But why not? You see, on the Premier League, you've only got 19 referees, so they've got to see teams 3 or 4 times a season now. And I mean, this is one of the problems that you've got the best 19 referees.
Yeah, but you had
on the
19
national
referees
list.
and you only had one Premier League game yesterday
Fine,
on Monday.
but he's got to do Leicester at some stage, Vinnie, in a season. It'd be very difficult for the appointments officer to go through a season without giving Mike Reid Leicester home or away.
So what are you saying? And if he give a decision the game before, do you think he'll try and level it up the next game?
I don't believe he will.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
I'd go out there.
If
and
you
he'd
thought you
referee
was
the game.
wrong the game before, would you think?
No, because at the end of the day, that referee's credibility is at stake, and there is an observer in the stand who is marking that referee.
Yeah, we understand that. I'm not saying we're disputing
What about
that fact,
getting
but how
onto
you
the
think, you know?
get onto the World Cup?
Yeah.
You refereed in the World Cup. How is the lingo there then? How do you know whether someone's having a go at you or not?
Given English is the #1 language in FIFA. All teams, all officials are meant to speak English. That's a FIFA directive. So that's one that comes from FIFA. But when you referee abroad, a lot of it is very flamboyant. No, calm down, up you get, and so on, where you don't get so much of that in England, but you're far more flamboyant. But players know, and I know when players are talking to me, whether they're using foul or abusive language or they're just passing the time of day. And the laws are the laws, whether you're playing in Jamaica, Costa Rica, Russia, England, the same 17
Wales.
laws. Yeah, Wales, yeah. The same
Where's Wales?
17, the same
Gary, what-
17 laws apply.
What about playing for England? What about the referees? Do you think ours are better than?
I think in the main, I think English referees, British referees are up there with the best. No doubt about that. You know, not that myself I had many problems with referees. I mean, I wasn't sort of on the, you know, doing too much to run the wrong way, but you know, I never really got too much involved. But I think in the main, I think our standards are very high. But they're always going to be contentious issues, you know, with bad decisions. So I think, you know, over the period of the season, it very balances itself out. You know, certainly. It's such an emotive issue.
I totally agree with you, because I think our game's a lot faster than the game abroad.
Oh, it is, a lot
And,
faster.
and things do go on a little quicker, like you say, the offside rule, linesman. And all you say to the linesman is to keep up with play.
That's right.
And we ask them, and sometimes, no disrespect to the linesman, they miss a couple of decisions because speed of thought, and the lads do have a go.
So even though all the stick, we still think our boys are the best.
Absolutely.